Welcome to the world of M.W. Lewis here in the studio at the home base outside of the swamp, the Washington, D.C. area. When I say the swamp, that's not political. We don't do politics in the world of M.W. Lewis. It's an apolitical world, but it's literally a swamp. If you don't know American history, they built this city. We built this city not on rock and roll. They built it on a swamp. It's a swamp. So, and there are despicable people in the area. But there are everywhere. So, now, what am I going to talk about? Episode 2, Season 5. I call it Episode 502. Got my posters behind me. I still haven't hung this great poster the son got me over the holidays. In case you missed Episode 501. I gotta get this hung up. So, what am I gonna talk about today on the worlds of MW? I don't have a session read. I have no game sessions to talk about. I'm not gonna read great lit today, although I am. I am going to do some great literature. You know what? I'm not gonna wait until midway through the year this year to start doing my verses either. I'm going to jump right into verses soon. Now, I'm debating, should I do some Philip K. Dick, which I really want to do. I really like Dick, and I want to, go ahead. That's a joke. That's a joke, guys. I really like Philip K. Dick's books. I like Dick, and I like his movies too. But should I do Philip K. Dick, or is there another verses I want to do this year? Because I like Dick so much, Philip K. Dick's books so much, that I don't like a lot of the movie adaptations. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I should do some different ones this year. For great literature, we're going to do something new this year. I'm going to be reading something off my Kindle. This is an old Kindle I have. It's in bad shape. It's got like a mark on it. I can't get it off. And I'm going to try some things with the cameras. Because I have another camera here, which I use in my game. I don't even know where this other camera is. I use it in my game for my dice cam. And let's see, while I'm actually recording, can I switch my camera? I'm gonna try this. I don't think I can actually. No, once I start. But I have this other camera, and instead of using it on my as a dice cam over my dice tray, I'm gonna put it over the book, over the Kindle book. And see how that works out. See if you guys like that. So you kind of read along as I'm reading. I might get sued one day for doing these readings. I don't know. Who knows? I have no money anyway, so sue me. But what am I going to talk about this time? That what's coming in the future is not as important as what's coming this time, unless you're planning a vacation or something. That's important. But you want to know what I'm going to talk about in today's show. So let's just get right into it. Why waste any more time? Let's just get on with the show. The third annual Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, Page, in Oaks, Pennsylvania, came and went, and what a great time it was for all. Now, I can't attest. I have to be honest, that's a non-scientific statement. I didn't even survey a sampling of people to know that, a significant number of people to make a scientific statement. This is just my observation. So a good time was had by most. A good time was had by many. I don't think the service staff working at the Expo Center had a good time. Cleaning up shitty toilets all day, and there's a connection there. To something I'm going to talk about later. But I don't think they had fun. I don't think the people who had assault out in the driveway in the parking lots had fun. But the attendees, when I say by all, the attendees had fun. I'm pretty sure every attendee had fun. Even Frank Menser, who I think had to be rushed to the hospital Sunday morning. But I think he came back. So even he had fun. We all had fun. Even got people had to go to the hospital had fun. I mean, that's a good convention. Now, well, let me move on with the written script. I go off script a lot, but that's okay. Word of mouth has helped Ron Meisker, Page's founder and bold leader, grow the event so much so that in 2026, he expanded our space from tiny exhibit hall D, or hall, expo hall D, which had two parts to it, a front and a back. I, I guess everything has a front and a back. But there's a divider, a walled divider, into Hall A, which was adjacent to D. Because I think they worked their way around. I think there's a B and then a C, and then you come back to D, which is next to A. You get it? You get it? It's like the alignment chart. You get it? All right. You get it. D is to the left of A, and C is to the right of A. No, B is to the right of A. I'm confused now. And that's where we had it for 2 years, just in D, which was kind of a narrow strip. If I was DMing a game, I'd say you walk through the ridiculously large glass frontage to this, I don't know, chamber, through the narrow glass doors, into a hall that is I'm just spitting out numbers here. I'll say 150 by 400. So it's narrow, but long. And inside you see tapestries, black tapestries, held up by iron framing, dividing this area into multiple rooms, none of which have doors. Well, we moved to the adjacent A, and all the gaming was in A, which is much larger. I don't even want to guess the number. I'm just going to make a fool of myself now. It's a huge hall. And there was a much better food vendor there, albeit a little pricey. I spent a lot of money for not a lot of food on Thursday night, and then honestly, I brought my food the rest of the time. Hey, MW doesn't like to spend money. What can I say? So, I digress. Ron kept D, though. And this time, D was dedicated to all his vendors. In fact, he had so many vendors, he had to have a segment of A was also dedicated to vendors. My only regret, before I continue on with this discourse, is I didn't really spend a lot of time with the vendors. So I tried to stop by and see friends. I didn't even go to the little yard sale thing where my friend Michael Bohm, I even ran over to see him real quickly. And I said, give me your number. I'm going to try to get in touch with you. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. I gamed a lot, and then I had my own games to run, as we'll get to. So anyone I didn't see or said I'd come back and see you, and I didn't, hey, I'm sorry. I just, you'll see. Let's continue. I won't bore my listeners with every detail of the event's schedule. Let me just say, it was better than the years before. Every year has gotten better. And in the third year was good. They had the Dungeon Delver, Bill Sylvie. I listened to his Tuesday night game pretty religiously. I actually subscribe to his podcast, even though I don't listen to his other nights of his show. And that's okay. But I subscribe because I am entertained by his Tuesday night Greyhawk AD&D. We had Kelsey, the creator. I forget her full name, so my apologies. But Shadow Dark. There's a lot of Shadow Dark. The whole 4 days, Shadow Dark was being run, and I didn't get a chance to meet her, but others did. There were so many stars here. We had old TSR luminaries, Hammock, and others, and I'll get into it in a little more detail, running the A series, which is what Bill Sylvie's running on his Tuesday night right now. I love that series. I was running it in my Monday night AD&D several years ago until that game came to an end. So it is a great series, and they had the original creators there. Some of them couldn't make it, some did. So last year, I purchased my Gold Pass early. I knew right after page 2 I was going. So I bought my Gold Pass, and I'm going to get my Gold Pass. They go on sale on Monday. I'm probably going to get my Gold Pass. He has a new pass, too, and depending on pricing, I might get the new pass. But anyway, I got it last year, and as soon as he opened up registration for the individual games, I was right on there and signed up for several good ones. As I said, I'm going to go through it all in just a few moments, so hang in there. I then saw, though, looking at my schedule, 2 big holes. So I submitted to run a Traveler game and an AD&D 1E game. So this is going to be the first time that since I've been going to conventions in my gaming renaissance after my long gap of not playing from a teen, an early teen or mid-teen to my 40s, I didn't play. And back then, we didn't go to conventions. I didn't have money. Nobody I knew was going to conventions. We played in people's basements. And that was it. We didn't go to conventions. So I started going to conventions maybe in 2023, 2022 maybe. Uh, I've run a game. I started running games after the first experience, but I've never run two. So now I've run two. So I was a little nervous about that. And I started preparing for both these games last summer. I drafted my 1E game and I hope to play test it at the Virginia Uncon, which we talk about on this show. I talk about the Uncon. It's called VOC, or the Virginia Uncon, not any other location. It's the Virginia Uncon. And we did it in July instead of Memorial Weekend. So I had time. I had my adventure ready. I brought it. But due to events unforeseen to me, I don't think I talked about the con very much last summer on my show because it didn't go too well. A lot of interpersonal problems crept up. It was kind of a disaster. And as a result, we didn't get to run all the planned games, and my play test was sacrificed, which is okay. I was a little disappointed. But a ragtag group of survivors from VOC agreed to help me by play testing the adventure online. But time quickly slipped away from July, and I went away, and I was a little sick in September, end of August, September. I went away to my Northwest trip in October. Other people were busy, of course, also. I'm not the only one who's busy. And we didn't get to the playtest till December. Now, so this ragtag group got together and we play tested it online, which isn't ideal, honestly. It's better to play test something in person. Online play is fine, but people aren't giving you their best attention. I got some good feedback, but I had precious little time to update the adventure, and adjustments had to be made, and I made them. Anyone who's, if you're going to make an adventure, if you're going to write a game or an event, I know you're going to do it. You got to play test it, and you got to take feedback. You must be able to take feedback. When it came to Traveler, I joined a game run by Carl Rodriguez, the Gemologist, presents. And he does appear on my show to talk sports. We're going to do fewer of those episodes, but we're still going to get a couple sports in this year. We're going to do two this year. I'm going to talk to Carl, do a post-Super Bowl one, and then maybe do one in the summer to talk about baseball and other sports he likes to talk about. They're not very popular among my listenership, which is now maybe becoming a viewership. So we're going to cut back on things people don't like and do more of what people like, and that's okay. I'll ask, so anyway, I've been in Carl's game, and it was so good, I even went on to Mongoose Press and bought their 2022 Traveler Edition, which says a lot, because as I said, MW doesn't like to spend a lot of money, but when I do, my friends, when I do, it's quality. And that's what I believe. I believe when I spend my money, except for going to McDonald's, it's quality. So, I did run character creation at VOC. I got to do it before the whole darn thing blew up. And that was fun. We had a great time. So I felt pretty prepared for Paige. Because that's how I advertised my Traveler game. It was going to be character creation for half the session, which we did spend half the session doing character creation. That's a game in and of itself. And then we did about a little less than half the session because we took a break. And we ran a little adventure. I'm not that great at running the adventures, I have to admit. But yeah, it's okay. Everybody in my session understood that. We had fun. They actually said their only regret was we didn't have more time to run more adventure. And that's what I'm going to do next year. I'm going to do it at VOC, and I'm going to do it at Paige. And I'm going to be better, and I'm going to run a full adventure of Traveler. It's a great game. I love it. So despite all this prep, a sense of foreboding entered my soul in the weeks leading up to Paige. I kid everyone not, and this is more for the people who I went with who are listening to this. I actually seriously considered not going. And this is the first time I'm saying this to anybody. This was all internalized. Maybe it was the PTSD from last summer's VOC disaster. Maybe it was the way my game ended in December through offline roleplay and everybody really dumping on the rules of AD&D. I'd like to say they were dumping on me That's probably how they view it. I actually know from some post breakup discussions with one of the players in particular. He kept saying I was the least hostile to your rules. So they really feel like they were dumping on me. They are dumping on the rules of AD&D. They rebelled against encumbrance, and they rebelled against spell component. I mean, they're rebelling against rules in the player's book. But maybe because of that, I had some doubts. Now, I don't really get into encumbrance or spell components at a convention or a one shot. That's all. That's all what you call hand waved, right? Is that how you hand wave something? You do that? Oh, we're not doing that. Is that how you hand wave? Oh, that we're not doing that. That's the hand wave, right? We're not doing. It's not this. Is it this? So anyway, I had a sense of foreboding. I don't know what. I was sick. I was sick actually in the fall. That's why my number of podcasts reduced a lot. I had funny illnesses. I had a late year flu. I traveled a little bit to the Northwest. I don't know what it was. I really, even as of the Tuesday before I was supposed to leave on Thursday, I was thinking of texting my buddies and saying, I'm not going. Text Ron and say, just cancel my games. It's going to snow anyway. I had an excuse. Now, we didn't get a lot of snow, but people were impacted by the snow. So for the third year, Paige had snow, and not this huge storm that's coming this weekend that you're going to be listening to my show because you can't get out of your houses because of the 50 feet of snow we're getting this weekend. This is the weekend of the 24th, 25th, and then Monday is going to be the 26th. That's why I'm going to put the show out probably on the 25th. So while the snow's coming down, instead of shoveling, just listen to my podcast. You might save yourself a heart attack. So I just didn't want to go. I don't know why. I don't know. But I went. Just like those nights. Now, old MW's been working out a lot the last couple of years. I got to get myself in some better shape. I like to eat poorly, and I don't want to take any medical shots, which, I was overweight. A lot of us are. I was at Page. A lot of us are overweight. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, we're gamers. We sit around a lot. I work on my ass all day at work, and then I game a lot when I come home. So I don't get out and do a lot. But I've been going to the gym. Now, anyone who goes to the gym or likes to run, or I bike. I got this bike back here. I used to bike. I used to be pretty fit when I was younger. I'm not now. Look, there are days you don't want to go. And that's how I felt about Paige. I don't want to go. Just like I don't want to go to the gym. I just don't want to go tonight. I'm at work. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm hungry. I had a hard day. And I go in my office extra days than I have to, thanks to work from home, thanks to the pandemic, which launched my online game. So thanks to everything, I wouldn't even be doing this. I go in the office because my gym, I get my gym membership through my company. I'm a little lucky on that regard. I understand that. But it's right across the street from my office. So I go to the office, work all day in the office, and sometimes I just want to go home first. I just want to go home and eat. But then I force myself to go to that gym. And when you leave, most of the time, you are really happy you went. That happened to me this year with Paige. I just wasn't going to go. But then I dragged my lazy butt out of the house Thursday morning. And I drove up. And I went to Paige. And you know what? I came back Sunday feeling fantastic. I had a great time at Page this year. I'm telling you, if you listen to my show and you haven't gone to conventions yet, and I know some of my listeners don't, some of the people I play with don't, you got to start going. I don't know why I never went when I was younger. Well, I didn't have money. I mean, that's it. I know why I didn't go when I was younger. I didn't have money. My parents were not uninterested in this kind of stuff. So it just wasn't my priority. But had I kept playing into the 90s, and I bet you I would have gone. But I didn't. I had a gap. But now I've been back in the game now since 2017-ish, 2018. And I'm going to conventions now, and I'm going to try to go to some more, honestly. I'm almost done my conquering the 50 states of the United States of America. I got to visit some places in Asia. I have never been to the continent of Asia or Africa, South America. Get those trips in. I'm relatively, I say I'm old MW because I am old. But I'm also relatively young still. So I will plan my budgets. I like to go skiing, but I will plan conventions every year in my budget. That's going to happen. I want to go to more, and I want to run games at them. I think I do a pretty good job running games. And someone's got to run the games. So with all this being said, my malaise, what I'm going to do, part of this year coming up in the show, I love Philip K. Dick's books. Let's get on to a step-by-step, a day-by-day review of MW's adventure at page 3. I'm going to take you through some of the games I played, some of the personalities I met, some of my disappointments, some things I didn't do while I was there that I wanted to do, partly because of my malaise, which did go away completely. I'll talk about I'm going to put up some pictures here. I'm going to figure out a way to share some pictures on this podcast. But I will advise you to go to my Facebook. I put up pictures on Facebook. If it's in the show notes, follow my Facebook. Everything's public on MW Lewis Facebook. And also just follow Page. A lot of people are putting the pictures up on Page already. So I'm going to take a quick little break here, and you won't even notice it maybe, and come back with the day by day at Page. Before I continue, let me briefly fill you in on our accommodations. My friend Sonny and I agreed to rent a house in Phoenixville instead of staying in one of the 2 hotels. The hotels are right in the complex as the Expo Center in Oaks, and I stayed in one of them in 2024. They aren't terribly costly, but the rental house is a great deal. We did this last year for the 2025 page, and so we did it again at the same exact house for 2026. This year, Sonny's friend stayed in the 5-bedroom house with us, and we used Facebook and found 2 additional folks to stay with us, reducing our total boarding cost for the 3 nights to about $200 each. And that's total for the 3 nights. With the kitchen in the house, we saved more money by making store-bought food from the local Acme and bringing it with us to the convention hall. The home we found is only 10 minutes from the expo, which is about the same distance as the new overflow hotels Ron had to add for the larger 2026 con. Now, let me tell you, if you don't like driving, the 2 original hotels near the Expo Center are actually walking. You can walk from them to the Expo Center. Now, it's cold, though. This convention does take place in January, so it's a little cold. Most people actually do drive back and forth between them, but you really could walk it. And I believe Sonny did the first year with his friend Sean, who went. I didn't. I drove because it's just cold, and you have a lot of stuff. But it is that close. But our home in Phoenixville that we rented, it's not our home, but we rented this home. It's just a great deal, great value, and it's a lot of fun. So I intended to reach this home by 12 o'clock on Thursday. But due to a variety of reasons, large among them was my lingering malaise, I didn't leave my secret headquarters here in the swamp until noon. Around 1:30, I had to make my requisite stop at a Waffle House off of I-95 north of Baltimore. There are actually a couple of Waffle Houses along 95 between the Baltimore Tunnel and Delaware. And I don't know which one I stopped at this year, but there are 3, I believe. I always hit one of them. So I made it to the home at about 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon. I entered it, claimed my first floor bedroom, the only bedroom on the first floor, which honestly I take it because I'm a heavy sleeper, honestly, and it would suck for the others to have to be down there while people are in the kitchen in the morning, or maybe out in the living room at night. None of that bothers me. And then I was off to the convention hall. 10-minute drive. Got to the convention hall a little bit before 3:30. And it was time to game. Right? It's time to game. I'd waited a year to do this. I wasn't in the best of mood, but I'm ready to go. And Thursday is the slowest day of Page, and that's probably true for most other conventions that have a Thursday to Sunday format. So getting my badge, goodie bag, and t-shirt, which I'm wearing, with the cheesesteak, was a breeze. I rolled a 20 and was through it all very fast. I don't even think I waited in line. I said hi to Ron. I gave a good, what's up nod to people I recognized, but quickly headed over to my first adventure, the Hamlet of Omelet, Assault on the Apple Barn, a new adventure by Heidi Gygax Garland and Eric Garland. Hapless kobolds have attacked and taken hostages in the village apple barn, mistakenly thinking it is the seat of village government, since it is a very large building and is painted red. Your mission, our mission, was to safely free the workers and rid the orchard of the kobold menace. This was a good adventure. I played with Heidi and Eric at page 2, and it is nothing less than laughs and giggles the entire time. I really appreciate their irreverent style to gaming and adventure. My own adventures are similar. Last year's Halloween 1978, which I ran at page 2, had the PCs wear Charlie Brown Peanuts costumes as they patrolled the trick-or-treating streets to find Michael Myers here on Earth. Every time they crossed the street, they could get hit by cars. And oh boy, did they get hit by cars. You'll learn even more about my irreverent style when I get to my Sunday adventure that I ran at page 3 this year. But more on Heidi and Eric. The only issue I had with this game was two of the players, they kind of sabotaged it with their relentless outbursts of roleplay. It was Mercer-esque and, quite frankly, completely inappropriate for a convention. We made very little progress in the adventure, and I really felt bad for Eric, who had to manage the game alone for half of it as Heidi was running late, and really struggled with these two personalities who sat opposite each other on either side of me, and they just dominated the game. But it's water under the bridge. The game ended on a good note, and I took some really good pictures with Heidi and Eric, who both remembered me from page 2, and for some reason thought I looked familiar to them beyond page 2. They thought I looked like somebody they knew. And at page 2, they also ran a Hamlet of Omelet game. This is a world setting they're working on. A board game setting, everything. I look forward to it. I think it's on Kickstarter. So after that, I had a few minutes before my 8 p.m. game, because their game went 4 to 8, but it ended a little early. So I bought 3 chicken tenders. I'm not kidding you. Three chicken tenders. Now, by the most advanced mathematics, that's 1 plus 2. That comes to 3. I think Einstein invented that formula. I got the 3 chicken tenders. I got some fries. And a Miller Lite. Yet I had to surrender for that meager meal. I had to surrender a whopping $27 from my belt pouch. I mean, ouch, man. That was the last food I bought at the expo hall. Let's just put it that way. Food in hand, I rushed over to play The Sadness of the Sea by Carlos Lysing, a convention legend. I finally got to play in one of his games, and I was so excited to do so. The game. Long have Sybarite Isles folk marveled at the elusive mermaids haunting the land's rugged coastal coves. Recently, sightings of the breathtaking sea maidens have grown all too rare. Our mission was to figure out what happened to the sea maidens, and I was so thrilled to do a waterborne adventure. They're rare, and they're hard to run, and Carlos is a master of gaming who publishes adventures through Castle Entertainment. Not an advertisement. I'm not getting paid to say that, but that's the facts, Jack. Unfortunately, and this is really unfortunate, one of the play actors from the earlier game, the 4 o'clock game with Heidi and Eric, signed up for this game too. And he was at the table before I was, because I got the food. I'm coming over for the food. I mean, this dude completely took over the game. He overshadowed a great convention personality DM, Carlos. And he rendered all the other players as nothing more than mere props on his round stage. This was this gentleman, I loosely use that word, this was his chance to star, and he took every advantage of it. Finally, at 10 o'clock, another player erupted on him, and Carlos was left no choice but to skillfully yet firmly end the game. We had a whole another hour to play, too. It was a tragic end to a great night of gaming. I gave Carlos a ride to his hotel, which was one of the ones on the site, the large expo site. Then I drove over to the other hotel. I think the other one's the Hyatt. Carlos was in the other hotel. And I hung out at the bar with Jay Lord Gasumba and some other conventioneers. Jay told us he is working with Luke Gygax and some other well-known personalities and creators to develop new Greyhawk material for the enemy, WotC. Now, this is really exciting to hear, no matter how you feel about WotC. But I think most of us are on a wait-and-see vibe when it comes to this project. But I have a lot of confidence. I'm looking forward to what they produce. These are great guys. WotC may not be the greatest, but these are great guys and creators, and they love the game. So let's see what they produce. I returned to my house in Phoenixville shortly thereafter. I did not overdrink. I had one drink that night. And everyone else in the house was asleep. Thus came an end to my long adventure on Thursday, which started down in the swamp and ended in Phoenixville. This is almost an adventure in itself. Next up, we're going to talk about Friday at page 3. All right, now it is time to get on to Friday of my page adventure. Sonny and the others were up early, so I dragged myself out of bed around 7:30 in the morning. Enough time to run to Acme, which was right up the street in Phoenixville, and supply up. I don't know, supply up. Get supplies, food, and a 6-pack of Miller Lite. Steve joined me and bought his own provisions. Back at the house, I made some PB&J sandwiches, then whisked away to the game. I had enough time to stop and grab a breakfast sandwich and a coffee at the Wawa near the Expo Center. This was going to be my longest day of playing in the 4 days, so I really needed to fuel up. I had to be well fueled to make it through this day. My first game started not so promptly at 9 a.m. Now, that was the start time. It was A2, Secrets of the Slaver's Stockade by Harold Johnson. Now, this is a classic TSR module, and Paige did a great job. Harold Johnson was running this game. The TSR Luminary not only authored A2, but he authored several other TSR modules. So you can look him up on Wikipedia and read all about it. Each day of page 3, one of the Slaver modules was run, with A1 on Thursday, A2 on this Friday, A3 on Saturday, and finishing up A4 on Sunday. And one of the luminaries ran each session. Now, I only did the A2, but Steve, my housemate for the con, he played in 3 of the 4, and he was here for A2. Ron Meisker, who runs Page, noted to all of us that the fee for getting into the A games was 100% of it was going to the Gamer Assistance Program charitable initiative that Ron runs as part of Page. So that's really awesome. That's really awesome. By the time I arrived at the table, 5 of the projected 9 players were already there. Along with Steve, I knew Brian Keena, a long-lost frat brother whom I connected with at page 2 and spoke about on my wrap-up last year in February or January, whenever I did my page wrap-up. Now, Harold regaled us, as all the luminaries do, with wonderful stories of the old days in gaming and life at TSR as we awaited the arrival of the no-shows. Now, I just listened to the Grog Talk podcast where James and Rob Ritchie got on and were talking about conventions. And James mentioned, he said, get to these conventions. These luminaries are aging. So if you get to these conventions, do it now so you can meet some of these guys. We're already losing some of them. So it was a real pleasure to meet Harold. Now, after telling us some great stories, Harold then tried to sell us some stuff and convince us to attend a convention that he was starting near his hometown. And next thing you knew, he told us more stories, and in a whole hour and 45 minutes passed. And we were not rolling dice. So, while you do want to go meet these luminaries, when they get going, sometimes, not all of them, in my experience, not all of them, but obviously in Harold's case, man, it was taking a long time to get to the game. Our 6-hour session, it was literally wasting away. Well, we finally started, like I said, just before 11 in the morning. So I've been sitting there for an hour, almost a full 45 minutes. And unfortunately, we just didn't make it too far into the module, which has some really fantastic encounters as you get deeper and deeper into the stockade. I played the pre-gen magic user, Dread Dalgath, or Delgath, and I died in the final room that we made it to, because we ran out of time, and we made this room at around 3 o'clock. Without saying too much about the module, I was encloaked by a cloaker, and I croaked. If we had another hour to play, we might have made it even to the lower level below the stockade. I would have just grabbed another pre-gen and kept playing if Harold would allow it, or I would have sat and just listened and saw, see what happens next. But there's no way we would have finished this adventure even if we had started on time at 9 a.m. So after an hour break, I was right back at the gaming table, this time with Sonny, not Steve, who was at the house also. But I'm sticking with Brian Keena and Carmen at this point. Brian was running a very clever game he titled For Whom the Liberty Bell Tolls, Part 1, a homebrew 1E, kind of 2E adventure with a Revolutionary War theme. And I have to say, Brian runs great games at Page. I played with him twice in the 2025 Page, and I really was looking forward to this one. The setup for this game was, freedom has won the day. You have won your freedom from your oppressors from across the sea, but they refuse to accept this declaration of independence and have eyes on the capital city of Philadelphia. The adventure begins with the Battle of Brandywine and recreates what the history books don't tell us. The tale of heroes in battle against low odds, a winter plague with extreme cold, dwindling supplies and disease, and a dragon. This was a great convention setup. There were 3 locations with 3 encounters of increasing difficulty, and we finished it all in the 6-hour time frame. Brian brings great maps printed by his brother and great minis, which I think he makes on his own 3D printer. I could be wrong. The game had a variety of monsters from super yetis, the white dragon, bugbears, and more. It was gonzo, as we had standard D&D skills and powers, but also 18th century guns. It was a great time. Brian made the final half of my 12-hour Friday truly memorable. When it was all done, I ran to the Wawa. I got some food before going back to the house in Phoenixville and turning in for the night. My 12 hours of gaming was over. And let me tell you, that's a long day to be sitting at the table. It's hard to concentrate through it all, but I did it and I persevered. And I deliberately set up my Saturday with a morning game, then a long break until 7 o'clock at night when I would run Traveler. So I'm going to take a little break here. As you can tell, I'm videoing these little snippets at different times. And I'm going to get to my discussion of Saturday next. Saturday. It began just like Friday. I got to meet one of our other housemates in the morning before we all headed to the Expo Center, which was nice. Believe it or not, I hadn't actually met everyone staying in the house. We had different schedules. We were in and out, different games. But I got to meet the third one, so that was great. My first game on Saturday was with Lord Gasumba. This was the third time I would be playing with Lord Gasumba at Page, having done so in the previous two pages. And there were familiar faces at the table. He even had his son play this year, which was a delight. He was a good player. A young man, too, and he really enjoyed the game. The adventure was Love is in the Air, an official adventure in the 46-plus year Order of Ulick Greyhawk campaign, which Lord Gasumba runs, and he broadcasts on YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It's a good time. Lord Gasumba, a.k.a. J. Scott, runs fantastic adventures. I can tell you that. And I like I said, I've been in two of them at Page. He's a good convention. Again, a very good convention game designer. And I've learned a lot from these folks. I like to think my games are also well done for this kind of environment. Now, I already mentioned that he announced that Jay/Lord Gasumba announced that he'll be working with Luke Gygax and WotC. He told me that at the bar the first night, so I want to point that out, that this is the man I'm talking about when I say Lord Gasumba. And here I am sitting in his game. This might be one of the modules that they put out, and I'm playing in it. This is great. Without giving away too many details of the game, because like I said, maybe this will get published, I want to go straight to this adventure's big bad. Now, I'm going to give a big spoiler here, but Jay's running it. He's run it. It's recorded. I'm sure he recorded this game online, so I'm not going to give up too much. The big bad in this adventure is Mulaku. Mulaku. He kept saying it over and over. We're going to Mulaku. The creatures like Mulaku. The monsters we had to fight to reach the big bad kept making a knack, 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 knack sound. Now, I'm from the Philly region. I know. I grew up in the Philly region, so I know about the Three Stooges more than, but most of you do too. But they're from that area of the world. I kept making jokes about Curly from the Three Stooges, and sure enough, we get to Mulaku, and he's a three-headed magic-wielding monster with the heads of Mo, Larry, and Curly. Now, Mo was actually in the middle, I believe. This blew me away. Just like last year when he had the Tiki Doll, was one of the big bads, or the big bad at the end of his Coliseum game. This Mulaku was a fabulous miniature. I was just blown away. I already put it up on Facebook. I said if Ron Meisker did a miniature of the year of the convention contest, Mulaku would have had my vote in 2026, just as Tiki Da would have had my vote in 2025. And let me tell you what, Brian Keena had great miniatures. And every DM there, except for me, I'm not big on the minis or props. I don't do a lot of that stuff. I'm more a theater of the mind kind of guy. But the guys who bring minis, there are a lot of fabulous minis there. But I'm pretty confident that this Mulaku would have been the mini of the convention. I mean, it was fantastic. And I have a picture of it on my Facebook. Now, I'm saying that, and as I'm saying that, I might pop a picture up on it right here when I get back and start editing these little snippets that I'm going to piece together to make this episode. But some of you may still be listening just on audio. So if you're just listening on audio, go to my Facebook, which is always in my show notes, and the pictures are there. You'll find Mulaku. I didn't make an album, but you'll see them on my page if you click into my page and go down and look at my posts. One of the things about Jay aka Lord Gasamba, or Lord Gasamba, aka Jay, which might be the better way of putting it, I like a lot is Heidi and Eric, the Garlands. He runs an irreverent game. His games are fun. You're meant to have fun. It's not always the end of the world. It's not always epic. It's just good old fun. You go out on these little adventures, and there's always something humorous about them. I like to think my games are kind of like that too. I like to have a lot of fun with D&D, and I think not everything needs to be epic, right? So I took a break after this game. I had such a great time. I did need a break, and I wanted to absorb everything about that game. It was so much fun. But after the fun time, I was at my table by 7 p.m. in the hall. This is Saturday night. I was probably a little tipsy. Not I could drive, but it was probably I'm a big guy. It was probably affecting me more when I got there 10 minutes later than when I left the bar. And I had two Miller Lights to help me run this game. And the weather outside was growing frightful. I think snow was coming down Saturday night. So only two players showed up. There were six signed up for this game. I didn't want more than six, but I really wanted six. Uh, that's what I planned. And so we're sitting there, the three of us, and I finally, around 7:10, I'm like, all right, we're going to have to just get started. But I was feeling bummed out. Now I'm like, there you go. The other shoe dropped. Something's gone wrong. And it was really bothering me because as of Saturday night, only two of the six seats available for my Sunday game had been sold. So now I'm like, I'm only going to have two people for that game too. I didn't say that to my Traveler people, but that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling depressed. So we're going to start. But then all of a sudden, four wanderers, or should I say travelers, came into the gaming area I was assigned and came right to my table and said, "Can we join your game? Our DM has not shown up." And that is what happens when there's bad weather out, especially at a convention like Page, where there's a lot of locals from Philly and the surrounding area attending, and they're not staying at the hotels. I know for a fact there were a lot of people who were just driving there for each day. Their DM probably just didn't want to drive in the snow. Of course, I said, join us. Making it even better, two of these travelers played in my Halloween 1978 game the year before, and they were also travelers into that game. So it was a pleasure to play with people again who had been in my game from the prior year. And this was the young woman and her boyfriend who had the tattoo of Michael Myers on her calf. So I know she liked my 1978 game. I wasn't sure how she liked Traveler, but that at this point it doesn't matter. They didn't originally sign up for it. They were just happy to be in a game. So I let them all know that, and I wrote it in my description, that this was going to be a game for newbies to Traveler, and we were going to go through painstaking detail to make each of the six PCs from scratch. Now, they all bought in, and if any of you out there listening or watching knows Traveler, it is a longer process to make a Traveler PC than it is in Dungeons and Dragons or a lot of other equivalent role-playing games. It's very involved. So I had to ask a lot of these participants to sit there while we did one character at a time. Now, it's also well known in Traveler 1970s versions, in all the rules up until Mongoose, that characters actually could die in character creation based on these result tables of careers and things that can happen. But in the 2022 rulebook of Traveler, which I have here, here it is. I got the 2022 rulebook. They took that out. They took character death out. By the way, this is a fantastic quality book. It's an on-demand printed book. I think it's printed in China. Really well done. One of the things I had to do, too, before I got there at 7, before I got the drinks, or maybe right after I got the drinks, I ran to Staples and I made some handouts for the game. This is just the same sheet that I printed out 3. I made 3 of several things we were going to use for the game. I also had character sheets that I bought from Mongoose in this packet, character sheet packet, and everybody got their own character sheet to make their character. And everyone kept them. I was very pleased about that. So they bought in. And I told him, now if you're expecting character death, it was taken out of the 2022 Mongoose Goose rule books. Even though I've heard they added it back in a supplemental rule book, which I still don't have. So I don't know what the rule really is or how they added it back. But we homebrewed it last Saturday night. We homebrewed it and said, if you fail out of your profession, and that's where you then roll off a table, and that's where you could die in the original rules. Well, no, there is no death this time. We said we'll roll 1d6, and if you roll 1 to 3, you actually die. Well, I'm going to tell you what, these players, not many of them even failed out of their profession. But the one young woman did. Her name's, I'm not going to say her name, but the one with the we'll call her the Michael Myers tattoo. She failed out of her profession on like her second term and rolled a 1. Dead. So I moved on. There were 2 more characters to create. Wait, 3 more. Patiently awaiting. We moved on to the next person. She had to roll up all new abilities, create a name, and had to wait for me to finish the other 3, then come back to her. And man, the first 2 that we did, they had a lot of patience, and people were pretty much engaged. Now, I made a few mistakes in the character generation. We got so focused on dying and the negative things that can happen when you fail out of your career, I forgot to roll the actual event when you survive your term as a career. So each 4-year terms. So I had to go back and retcon that for everybody. And they, you know what? I had a great group. Everyone was very understanding. They understood that I was kind of new to Traveler. They were learning Traveler. And by making the mistake, I actually emphasized an aspect of the rule. We had a fabulous time. By 9:45, 2.5 hours plus of playing, we finally finished PC creation. You might think this is horrible, but not Traveler. Not Traveler. This is the way to play Traveler. You sit together in a group and you make your player characters together. There's things you could speed up if people know the rules. But you really need to be paying attention to each other's events that happen, whether they're negative events or positive events. You got to pay attention. I like Traveler. This is a good rule. We took a quick break, then reconvened, and I bought this book too from Mongoose over the summer. Core Adventure 2, Last Call at Neri's Cantina. And inside here are a bunch of little adventures you can run, or even some little larger adventures. So we kind of did a mix of 2 different adventures. We did one's called the Fight Club, and the other is a rescue mission on the planet and Neri's Cantina is on a space station revolving around a planet. Well, I say fixed orbit on a planet. And they had to go to the surface to rescue someone. We ran that too. Everybody was disappointed we didn't have more time to play, although not upset that we took so long on character creation. They just wanted more time to play. They all kept their PC sheets, so who knows? I could put Traveler back on the agenda for page 4 and send them messages and see if we can get the whole gang back together in 2027. And that would be a lot of fun. And I will be better and better prepared to run adventurers through a really good mission if I plan for 4 or 6 hours. That's something I might be looking forward to doing next year. So that ended my night of gaming. It was kind of an easy day. I think Jay's game, Lord Kasumba's game, was a 10 in the morning to 1, something like that. Not a long. And then my game was 4 hours. A lighter day. But in whole, at the end of Saturday, I played 8 hours on Thursday. I played 12 hours minus an hour. Minus an hour and 45 minutes. But technically, I played 12 hours. That's 20 hours. I had 8 more hours on Saturday. So that's 28 hours I've been gaming now through Saturday. I had one more thing to do at Page, and that was on Sunday, which we're going to get to next. All right, we're on the last day of Page. We've plotted through this episode like people plod through character creation in Traveler. We've traveled a long way from my intro to now. So it's the last day of Page. I did not go to sleep until about 2:30 Sunday morning. I got the McDonald's after the bar. I did some doom scrolling or whatever you call it on my phone for a while. I just couldn't sleep. So I wake up the next day and I woke up early. I saw Sonny and Steve. A couple of the other guys in the house had to leave early for weather or whatever. Actually, to be honest, one guy didn't make it. I didn't want to get into these nitty gritty details, but anyway. But the other guy left early, probably because of the snow. He left Saturday. So I see Sonny and Steve. They have to get off to an early game. I then go back and I rest for a little bit. And then I got to do, like, we're supposed to strip our bed and stuff. You know how the Airbnb Verbo rules work if you rented them. So there's stuff we had to do. I took the trash out for the whole group. I did all that stuff. And miraculously, I made it to my game just before the start. Now, one thing I have to say is when I was leaving the hall Saturday night, I bumped into this young woman who is college level woman, and her dad knows Ron, and he volunteers at Page, and she volunteers at Page. And the prior year, she happened to be in my one game I played. It was a 5e game, and she remembered me because I don't know 5e that well, and she was super helpful helping me play, not run, but I played 5e, and that's the second time I played 5e at Page. I did it the first year, too. She was wonderful, but she remembered me, and she happened to get into a game that she hadn't pre-signed up for, but jumped in one of Brian Keena's game that I also was in. So she remembered me pretty well. I said to her, hey, it's too bad we didn't get the game this year. She said, yeah, I want a game with you. Are you playing 1E tomorrow? And I said, yeah. And you know, she jumped into Brian's game on Friday night at this year's Page. So she and I gamed for a while then. I needed people in my game Sunday. I told you, I was getting a little bummed out. I only have 2 people. So I was like, listen, you should play in my game. And she goes, I can't. I am volunteering Sunday. I cannot. She goes, unless you can talk to Ron and ask him to let me out of my volunteering opportunity. Well, Ron was at the bar, and I asked him and his lovely wife, I won't name her, I'm just going to name Ron's the public figure. And I said, hey guys, I know her name too. She gave me her name. She wants to play. Can you guys get her out? And they did. So she's at the table as a third. That's great. So my friend Sonny's there. Sonny left early, but he was in my game. And then this other guy. So now I have 3. Okay. Well, the night before, when I was at the bar, I happened to have some drinks with 2 of the guys who were the travelers who wandered into my Saturday Night Traveler game. And we were talking, around the same age as me, talked about our playing gap. We had the long gap in playing, which I talk about a long time ago on my podcast. First season, second season, talk about these playing gaps. I might get back into that, by the way, and interview people about their long playing gaps. But anyway, we bonded. And I said, hey guys, I really need some players tomorrow. If you guys want to come by, that would be awesome. So we start the game, and Sonny takes a second character, and the other guy takes a second character, and then the young lady took 1 character. So we got 5 characters going. That's okay. I wrote this module for 5 to 6 characters. No biggie. Well, after about 10 minutes of playing, I don't even think we really got through the first encounter area. The other 2 guys come over. The game they were in ended early. They needed a game. They played. Perfect. Sonny and the other guy give up their second characters. Now we're rocking and rolling. Now, my malaise was pretty much gone. I had brought my final Miller Lights with me. I know it's early. I didn't drink one till noon. I'm ready to go, man. This game's going to be good. What am I running? I'm running The Missing Nightmen of Kohler Flushing. Now, for any of you out there who don't know what I mean by Nightmen, well, the original name of this module was going to be The Missing Shitmen of Kohler Flushing. A nightman or a shitman, that's the gong farmer. That's the men in a medieval village or town or city who would... Hold on, I have my animals in here, and they're getting mad at each other. So I'm going to make sure a fight doesn't break out. You may hear it. A fight might break out. Yes. But anyway, they're the men who go through the town and collect the waste, the sewage. And they put it in carts and they wheel it out of town. That's what they do. Well, in this town, Kohler Flushing, let's see, what's it say here? Well, let's read my description. I think I put a pretty good description. Now, I didn't pre-write my Sunday recap. I had notes I was reading off of for the prior segments of today's episode. But for this segment, I'm going to wing it because this is just my game. The one thing I can't wing, though, I can't really remember what I put in my description. And this might be why nobody signed up. Maybe this is why no one signed up. The Missing Nightmen of Kohler Flushing. You've entered a cesspool of problems in Kohler Flushing. All their gong farmers have disappeared. Can you uncover the dirt to solve the mystery? A medium level AD&D assault on the olfactory senses. The olfactory sense. There's a lot of errors in there. All right, people. I should have said all its gong farmers. It's a village. It's not a person. I said there. Kohler Flushing. A cesspool of problems in Kohler Flushing. All its gong farmers. Can you uncover the dirt and solve a medium level AD and assault on the olfactory sense? Not senses. That was... you write these descriptions on some online forum, boom, you submit. I didn't even think about that would actually be the description, but that's the description. Yeah, maybe that's why people didn't show up. I had mistakes in it. It doesn't sound that fun, but this is a good adventure. So we start. Now, I printed this thing out, two-sided on cardstock paper. I had handouts for people. We had pre-gens. Let's actually go through the pre-gens here. That's it. It's important to understand what we're dealing with here in Kohler Flushing. Now, if you haven't put it together yet, if you go look at the toilet you use in your house or out when you're abroad at restaurants and stuff, look at the names on the toilets. There are a specific number of toilet manufacturers that supply toilets to America. Kohler may be one. So we have a player here, a third level cleric, Seat Always Oop. That's Seat Always Oop. Now, there's a special note for some of these characters. Now, I don't think anyone played Seat Always Oop. Let's forget him. I had 6 pre-gens. I actually had a 7. There's a monk. Alright. I don't know if that got on the recording, but there was just a cat fight right here in my undisclosed secret studio. We definitely played this character. The 5th level fighter, Sir Shartstein. And a special note about Sir Shartstein is, Sir Shartstein loves staining his enemies' clothing red with their spilt blood. Then we had Sir Boldybrush. Or Brush, level 4 fighter. Sir Boldybrush loves to clean up the enemy with his weapons. We had some handouts here. Let me find the other PCs. They're over here. This is a mess. I was just emptying out everything for this adventure. It's all not together. I think I got all the pre-gens back. Which is... They didn't have to. They could have kept... the pre-gen sheets. But they chose not to keep these shitty characters. So we have Seat Always Oop. Again, and who else do we have? Unternail de Poop. Unternail de Poop. That's kind of disgusting, I admit it. But Unternail de Poop uses his quick, dirty fingers to pilfer items from the enemies, and sometimes his friends, open locks, and find traps. So that's Unternail de Poop. Do I have the other one? We didn't play Seat all the way up. Well, we had Craptastic. That was the other. That's our magic user. Now, Unternail de Poop is my favorite kind of character. He's a character with 2 classes. So he's a thief, but he was originally a fighter. So that was cool. Not a lot of players get to play that. So that was the fourth PC we played. And then the last one was Craptastic, who... Now, I can't find that pre-generated sheet. It's possible that the player who played Craptastic kept their sheet, which I hope they did, actually. I wanted... That was fine. These were meant to be kept. I'm going through some of these other handouts here. So let's see. I'm just going to quickly open up Craptastic's note here on my computer, just so I can read it to you. And I'll have to edit this down, perhaps. And Craptastic's special note is... What does it say here on his sheet? Craptastic is so good, he has an overpowering smell of arrogance. So that's Craptastic. So the magic user was a key character in this adventure. So what's this adventure about? This nonsense. What is this nonsense about? Like I said, I like to be irreverent when I play D&D, especially conventions. My campaign's a little more above board there, low level. Here's the player's background. You've traveled on the Peconic River, which got chuckles from some of my friends who are from New York, because that's actually a real river in New York. You travel on the Peconic River for several days, escorting merchants from the capital city to Southampton town. They thank you for the trouble-free voyage and pay each of you a handsome 10 gold pieces as agreed. Before you get your land legs and bearings, a man rushes you and hands you a parchment. It says, now this was a handout. I made these handouts with these messages that the players gathered throughout the game. And this is one, maybe someone took it, and that's fine. I did print these out, and people were allowed to take it. Oh, here it is. Here's the parchment here. Heroes Wanted. I used AI help me with this. Trouble in Kohler Flushing, great reward. Kohler Flushing is just half an hour from Southampton as the Peconic flows. Please come quickly. So the players take the adventure, and they get down to Kohler Flushing. This is a total railroad. You know, like Brian's game and Lord Gasumba's game. I think this, you could disagree. A2's fine. A2 is a fine module in the A series, but these are not railroady kind of modules. There's a lot of room for exploration. I just don't think these make for good convention adventures, where there's a lot of exploration. I designed mine with my Halloween 1978, my Nicomedes Tower, which I converted into a module that I sell. It's available. I did a Kickstarter. It's still available. I want to, and this is going to become. I'm going to sell this. I'd like to do 78, but I can't get the rights to Michael Myers and the Charlie Brown characters. I got to figure out a way to do that and rewrite it, or just take a chance and not get sued. So I'm still thinking I might publish that too. I'm definitely publishing this one. I don't think the Kohler Toilet Company is going to come looking for old MW. You never know. Let's continue. You arrive in Kohler Flushing. The first thing you notice at the village gates is the awful smell. It is as if you have entered the world's largest toilet. With the Heroes Wanted parchment in hand, you are whisked straight away to the town hall, holding your noses the entire way. You see turds of all kind, human, horse, dog, chicken, rodent, and more, littering the streets and fouling the air. Inside the town hall, you are brought to a large, hazy room. Here, the odoriferous assault on the olfactory is relieved by the fragrance of lavender, cinnamon, and lemon, thanks to evenly placed braziers burning piles of potpourri. It is a welcomed relief to you and everyone inside, even if the low-hanging haze waters the eyes and scratches the windpipe. It is a delicate balance between breathing and having air worth breathing, but the beleaguered mayor and his aides are doing their best. Through coughing fits to expel the smoke and tears streaking his ruddy cheeks, the mayor says, as soon as you enter the audience chamber, Welcome, heroes. I am Mayor Amerigo Standard. You seem like a hardy bunch. You got the job. Now, I don't know how much these people are going to be railroaded. Okay? And right away, they all look at each other. And my friend Sonny looks up at me and he immediately says, "What job?" Well, I wrote that here in case they don't say that. I wrote perplexed. One of you asks, "What's job?" But sure enough, they were a mile ahead of me. Well, can't you tell? Wasn't your stroll through Kohler Street's story enough? It stinks here. We're overrun by poop. All kinds of poop. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a large dragon turd somewhere out there spicing up the damned place. Confused, you ask, why don't you just clean it up? You know what? They're like, why don't you clean it up? That's what they said. I wrote that here. Amazing. We do, the mayor blares defensively before struggling with a bout of coughing. We do! Regaining a modicum of composure, which is no small feat given the bizarre circumstances, he calmly elaborates. Our nightmen. He pauses and looks at each of them. Our gong farmers. He looks around, another searching pause. The shitmen of this shanty village all have gone missing. Lost. Can't you see, or should I say smell? From your nods of assent, he's finally satisfied. You sense what he means and continues. All of them gone. You know, I wouldn't give a sniff about them normally. Rather crude men, the lot of them. But valuable, as they perform the unnoticed service of scraping the scat from the village streets and unpotting the poot from the chamber crockery. Now we have no one. Sure, those few among us with a sense of civic responsibility trudge their turds to the village's trough, but even they fail to fling their poo far enough away. The stupid among us, and there are many, eject their excrement upstream despite signs warning against this faux pas. The dumbasses. But there is also the human tragedy to consider. Dookie Deuce was the first to slip away about 3 weeks ago. He had a bad case of diarrhea of the mouth. You know the type, always running it. That man talked so much he even talked to himself. Last person to hear him was old Tom, the one-eyed shipwright who lives on Potter Row. Then we lost Slop Sigger, our longest tenured turd taker. He was a fine man, had a wife once. Old Winnie Wanderer saw him 2 weeks ago outside her mansion at the edge of Flushing Meadow Park, the north side. She said something terrible happened to him, but she was too shocked to give us details the last time we went out there. Finally, young Ord Jur passed, we presume, just a week ago. Literally passed. I received reports they found a bloody stool kicked over and an overturned chamber pot on Porcelain Alley. The chamber pot and stool belonged to Lord John Jakes. His manservant, Commodius, said he placed the chamber pot on the step stool every night and was shocked to find it mucked up the next day. He was more upset over the mess than the loss of poor young Ord, which, under the circumstances, is perfectly reasonable. Jakes wasn't available to speak with us at the time. Rumors now spread that the poor young man was murdered, so no one wants the jobs. Admittedly, pay for nightmen is rather crappy, but I'm thinking a raise is in order once we discharge this mystery to improve the flow of public administration. Say, you lot wouldn't want to... No, of course not. The squat mayor grunts emphatically, tears still streaming down his face. I figured a lot like you would not want to be gong farmers. Your task, should you choose to accept it, is to learn what has happened to the nightmen of Kohler Flushing. So that's it. The adventure begins. It takes a little bit. It took me 10 minutes to get through all that. And the adventure then begins. The mayor gives them very precise instructions. Go to each of the people who saw the missing nightmen overnight. They have to go at night and find out if they can learn more about what happened. Now, the mayor's emphatic. He only wants them out at night. Now, this party, of course, they tested that. They went out during the day. And I told them, the mayor told them, you can't wear your armor or use your weapons during the day while you're walking around town. It's unallowed. So they did it. They got attacked by a pack of dogs right near the mayor's City Hall because they wanted to go to the docks, which are straight up from City Hall. So when the mayor saw them out there fighting the dogs, he came out and read them the riot act. He said, "You go back to Potty's Tavern, John Potty's Tavern on Potter's Row, and you stay there until night." All right, the party finally, look, you got to be railroad. You're at a convention. Come on, people. You got to be railroad so you can get through the adventure. Now, this is a 4-part adventure with an optional 5th encounter. Now, I'm not big on minis or props, but I went all out for this game. I didn't want to flush this one away. So, for the first 2 encounter areas, I didn't really have any props. But when it came to coming to Porcelain Alley, I thought, you know what? Toilet seats on top of a porcelain toilet, that could be recreated. I bought a lot of stuff over the holidays, so I had some foam available. So I had a reproduction of Porcelain Alley, which I slapped down on my little dry erase map pad or battle map to put on the table. Quite frankly, I don't have any pre-drawn maps for this adventure. It's completely unnecessary. I just drew out battle areas as the game progressed. Then, Porcelain Alley is the 3rd encounter area. Now, all along, I'm giving out hero points. Players love that stuff. Hero points that could be used to add to a roll, add to it to hit. They were using the hero points left and right. And the hero points, 1 hero point would be worth 5% on a percentile roll. Part of the challenge of this game was to get rumors from John Potty, the tavern keeper on Potter's Row. They need to use their charisma adjustment, which is kind of becoming characteristic of my games. If you want to get the rumors, you got to get the best person in the party to do the questioning. Not to say that as players you can't assist, but we're going to use one player's charisma, and it should be the best one. They did it, and they got rumors. We're having a great time. So then we get to the optional encounter, because we had a little time. It was about 2 o'clock. We had till 3. And I'm like, let's try to get the optional encounter in. And the optional encounter, to get the final battle, they get all the clues they can find. They get the rumors from John Potty. They get clues. They bring them all to the mayor. And the mayor's interpreting the clues as they go along. For a while, some of the players thought the mayor was actually a bad guy. But others were like, no. He's not a bad guy. And he wasn't. So he tells them the final battle has to be, they have to go to the Gong Farm. 3 large creatures have been shambling through the town. And the 3rd night the party is there, while they're in Porcelain Alley, battling some very heavy-duty monsters, which their magic user used Fireball. And that's why we had extra time. And that's exactly what this module was designed for. It was perfect. I shouldn't give away too much. But to get to the final battle, they had to disguise themselves as the Gong Farmers. The mayor finally got them to scrape up poop and go to the Gong Farm. Now, to get to the Gong Farm, the village is smart. They had a lemon grove between the east side of town and the Gong Farm, which is northeast up on the Peconic River, the downriver on the Peconic River. The river goes from the northwest to southeast, but it's all north. The whole river's north of the city, the village. So there's the northwest part, and then there's the northeast part. So I put a prop on the table to represent the Lemony Grove. They loved it. It was great. I brought this home because I was running out of soft scrub, which I do use. So we got the toilet. We got the Lemony Grove soft scrub. And then we get through that battle. The cleric is super important. And there's a second cleric character. We only played the one, but there is a second cleric. And that's important because the mayor warned them, when you go through the Lemony Grove, there could be undead. And these are not the monsters you're looking for. We know that there's undead that's attracted to the Lemony Grove from time to time. So beware, he said. But I think the final monsters have to be in the Gong Farm. So now we get to the Gong Farm. Boom! That's our prop. A roll of toilet paper. And not this roll of toilet paper, because someone took it. Someone during the game wanted the roll of toilet paper. Which, of course, Take it. Now, you get to the gong fire. I'm not going to reveal what the final monsters are. I'm not going to reveal. I'm not going to reveal what else. That's enough. I've revealed enough. The main point was I want to show off my props. The toilet seat. This is fantastic work here by MW. I made this myself. It took me 5 minutes to cut this out of a piece of foam. I even used a ruler. And I bought this. Now, the young lady who I mentioned who got my game, the reason I made a big deal about her, she wanted this. She took it off the table and said, I'm keeping this. Now, MW doesn't like to spend money. This is like a $7 bottle of cleaner that could be used in your kitchen and in your toilet. And it is lemony fresh. I had to. So the other guy, one of the guys they voted the guy playing Craptastic. Tick. That's his name. It's like Craptastic, but the T is with the crap. Craptastic. He was voted player of the game, and he got the toilet paper. Well, he helped me negotiate with this young woman. He gave her the toilet paper, and I agreed to do a D20 swap with her. So she picked one of my D20s she's liked, and gave me one of hers that she didn't like, and because of that, I got my lemony fresh soft scrub back. And now I'm wondering if I should just let her kept it, because I kind of like the die she took, quite frankly. Now, I didn't bring my really nice metal dice that my sons got me. I would not have swapped that, of course. So that was it. It was a fun adventure. We were laughing. That's what I think a convention D&D game should be. A lot of fun, a lot of jokes. This might not really be funny, honestly, but it is funny when you're sitting there. You're not expecting something like this. Do something out of the ordinary, like Eric and Heidi do, like Lord Gasumba, putting in the Three Stooges. Do something that's gonna be like, I've never seen that before. I know the players at my day, they never saw this before, or this, or had to figure out what happened to Gong Farmers. It's never happened before. So, do something creative. I'm looking for the creative stuff. I don't need a heavy duty TSR module at a convention. I'll run that here. I run that stuff. That's what I run. That's my serious campaign. So it ended. That was it. I was already checked out. Sonny was already gone, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see them again. Well, Sonny had to leave. He was in my game. Steve, I didn't see again. The other guys got in the car. It was snowing. Drove home. My malaise, the veil of uncertainty and malaise, which whatever drove me to maybe not even want to go, had completely evaporated. Page 3 was a success. Not every game worked out the way I would have hoped or idealized. But overall, I wouldn't trade anything that happened at 2026's page. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to go to the next one. We talked about maybe we won't go the whole time next year. I'm going all 4 days next year. It's a great convention. I hope to see you there. I hope some of my listeners go to Page. I hope some of the people I met at Page listen to my podcast. And I hope I see you again next year. And that's it. With all that being said, that is the end of episode 502. Don't forget to explore the many worlds in your own mind.